What's up guys, my name is Keaton. I am from the band Emblem3 and I'm going to show you my live setup right here. I'm going to start it off with my trusty MacBook Air. This little bad boy is running all of our show tracks. It's running live auto-tune for us, keeping us sounding good. It is a beast of a very cheap computer and it's pretty crazy that it functions the way it does. It has the M1 chip in it. I'll soon be upgrading and getting a MacBook Pro. But it's been doing really well. I haven't had it crashed a single time. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, where the wood is. Yeah, it's been amazing. We'll move right down the rack here. So up top is power. It's really important to keep your gear safe. Power in a lot of venues can get tricky and weird, and it's always a good idea to have a Furman on hand just to run everything through that, keep everything safe. Next on the list is Sennheiser G3 and G4 IEM transmitters and receivers. So that's for our in-ears, which we send and do all of our own in-ear mixes from the X32 right below it, the X32 rack. Also a beast of a cheap piece of gear. I got this for less than $1,000, and you can do all your in-ear mixes. We send all our own mixes to here. And it's a phenomenal piece of gear. You can actually multi-track the show from this also, which we do a lot of the time as well, which is really cool for making like live recordings. And yeah, it's an awesome piece of gear. Love that. Next thing down is our interface. So we have all our mics running into here for our auto-tune and then sending out our tracks through the back on this split snake right here, the red and blue that you see. So the computer is connected to this Motu here, and Motu is known for making some of the best live interfaces, just being rugged, sturdy, good for the road, very reliable. It's a phenomenal piece of gear. Right below that is our stage split box. It's the S32, and normally we would patch all of these in, but tonight we don't have an analog split for the house. Cool thing about these are digital units, and if the venue you're working in has a X32 up front of house or an M32, you can actually just run this all digital. You don't have to do any analog sends. You just run one AES cable to the front of house and they get all the preamps, everything. Only have to patch it once. It's phenomenal. Or in situations like tonight where we don't have an X32 or M32 at front of house, we're doing some analog splitting here and sending out, going into it here and splitting back out for front of house here, so we can have all the individual channels. This thing's totally flyable. It goes in 2 of these SKB cases. SKB's taken care of me for a long time. Some of the best road cases out there. Just keeping your gear safe. I've flown with these probably 30 times and nothing's ever broken. Keeps everything safe. They're weather tight. It's just amazing, and it's cool to be able to fly with, you know, your in-ear mix staying the same every night and having the control like that. It's really cool. It's the network router for the X32 here, so you can actually run your own in-ear mixes. The guys have it on their phone. They can change something if they need, so I don't have to be doing it all the time. It's a great thing to have out with you, and super cool that it all works together the way it does. It's kind of messy right now. Normally I'd have it a little more organized, but the in-ear stays racked in, and all these cables stay, which is really nice. A couple things you just have to plug in, because I do fly with this and it's separated. The AES cable going back and forth for the split box. Plugging in the router, things like that. But for the most part, it's pretty self-contained, and it's awesome to not have to patch in your in-ears every night, not have to you know, patch all the analog ins to the console itself. This actually only has 16 inputs if you don't get the split box, so that expands it to 32, which is really nice. Yeah, it's been really fun to like put this together for the band, and I love this kind of stuff, so it's just super cool to have it, and yeah, just keeps everything reliable and stays the same every night. Let's talk about bass. All right, so when I'm not being a gear nerd, I come over here and I rock out on the bass. Gibson was very kind and let us take out some guitars on this run. This one is an Epiphone. I think it's Alan Woody, but it's his signature bass. It caught my eye when we were at the Gibson showroom. Just a really cool looking bass. Has a very like vintagey sort of sound. I think very 60s, 70s-esque tone. Almost kind of like a Hofner bass, like the Beatle bass. Yeah, just sounds really great. Has a really cool tone. The neck is nice and thin, which I really like. Because a lot of basses out there have that, you know, real thick neck, and I like to be able to be mobile on it. So for the most part, I will. So these pickups are actually individual volume knobs, so you can actually turn off the pickup if you want to just run one, or you could blend it in, and then you have full volume control over each, and then a tone for overall. For the most part, I've been rocking it all the way up across the board, except for when we go into acoustic songs. In that case, I'll usually turn down the middle pickup. I'll keep the bridge pickup. Sorry, other way. I'll turn this one down a little bit. I'll keep the middle pickup and roll back the tone a little bit. Just gives it a little less volume and a little bit less like bright tone in your face for those acoustic songs where it drops down. Okay, so strings, I actually don't know. These are the ones that came on the guitar when I picked it up. It felt great right from the get-go, and bass strings are one of those things that I feel like if you're going to change them, you probably don't want to be out on tour while you do it, because they're so bright and brittle right when you first put them on that I actually prefer when they're, you know, a few months worn in or just have been on there for a while. So I really liked the strings. I don't know what the gauge is currently on this. It feels pretty standard. And then don't know the pickups, but they sound phenomenal. I really like the gold hardware on here. It's just a beautiful looking bass. It feels really good to play. Tuning standard, except for one song I do go down to drop D on the bass, which creates a really nice heavy low end for that. If it's more like trappier song where, you know, we have these 808s and stuff, and it's really cool to have it go into drop D for that. So yeah, it's pretty much the bass itself. Let's talk some pedals. I keep it really simple on my bass pedals. I think bass is one of those things that you don't need to overcomplicate. This little guy right here is my favorite little bass trick, the Sans Amp Tech 21. It is phenomenal. It has a built-in XLR DI out, so you don't have to actually DI it if you don't want to. And it is very functional. So you got 3 programmable slots for different tones, so you can switch between, you know, a more driven, a cleaner, or you could just turn it off altogether, just bypass it. It is essentially its own amp inside of a pedal before you even go to your amp. So I kind of use this as if I was rocking like some sort of, you know, vintage amp or something where I would drive it really crazy. But you don't have to do that because you can just do it in a pedal and it keeps it consistent. It's really nice. I love it for the drive. The drive is phenomenal. You don't need to do too much. It sounds really nice. Just right here is about where I rock it. It's really cool. It shows you actually where you were. So if you go all the way up or if you go down, the closer you get, the more stable that gets, and that's like where you were. And you can double click to save your setting. Got an overall volume. You've got a blend knob, so you can actually blend the tone of this with just the dry signal. Presence knob, which is really fantastic if you want that, you know, more top end, you know, punchiness to that tone. And treble and bass, just classic. I love having. Usually the treble is probably boosted just a tiny bit, and then the bass is boosted also. And it gives it this nice like sort of mid-scoop sort of vibe with having the bass and the treble both boosted up back there. And then just a classic Boss chromatic tuner, TU3. It's reliable. It does its job really well. Yeah, that's it. Let's talk bass amp. I just picked this up. The best feature about this whole amp is that when you pick it up, it's like 19 pounds or something. So you could literally like throw this across the room. I wouldn't suggest that, but you easily could. And for you know, these types of gigs where you're in these smaller rooms, you don't need it to be too crazy. I mostly just use it for stage volume and a little bit of the feeling behind me because we are on in-ears. It actually has a built-in DI output as well, XLR out from the amp, which is, again, creates stability. Sounds, you know, the same every night for me. I keep my master volume knob at the same place every night. Kind of just figured out what felt good. The gain I just set right at noon. I don't use any of this. It's just the, you know, classic gain and EQ. I do a little bit of bass boosting, low mid cut, and then high mid treble boost just a tiny bit. Yeah, phenomenal amp, easy to bring around. Feels like it's just well made. It sounds great, very clean. I don't have to rely on the actual amp itself for the tone as much as I use that pedal. So that's pretty much my my setup. But thanks so much for watching, checking out all of my gear, all the stuff I bring out. We have a new song coming out June 9th, Burning Man. Would love for you to check that out. Come see Emblem3 out on the road sometime. All the details are at emblem3.com. Yeah, we'll see you next time.